Was bedeutet es für dich, reich zu sein? Heißt es besonders viel Geld zu haben oder viel Zeit oder einfach nur gesund und glücklich zu sein oder tolle Menschen in deinem Umfeld zu wissen? Egal wie du über Reichtum denkst, in der heutigen Folge werden wir die gängige Definition von Reichtum einmal herausfordern. Sprich, es geht über, was genau bedeutet es, reich zu sein? Gibt es vielleicht verschiedene Arten von Reichtum? Und wie können wir diese verknüpfen und letztendlich in unserem Leben verwirklichen? Und mein Gesprächspartner hierzu ist jemand, den ich schon seit langem bewundere, eine absolute Leadership-Coaching-Legende, Bestseller-Autor und jemand, der aus der Ferne aus eine Art Mentor für mich geworden ist. Ich habe ihn sogar zweimal in meinem Buch Der tägliche Biohacker zitiert. Das habe ich ihm natürlich in der Folge verraten. Und bevor ich dir seinen Namen verrate, hier noch der Hinweis für alle, die zum ersten Mal einschalten. Ich bin Max Gotzler, du bist hier in der Flowgrade Show, einem Podcast für persönliche Transformation. Wir verwenden Methoden wie Biohacking, Neurowissenschaft oder auch die Flow-Psychologie, um dir die Methoden, Techniken und Biohacks an die Hand zu geben, um dein Leben mit Flow zu füllen. Sprich, die Energie dahin lenken, wo sie hin soll und davon weg, wo sie eben nicht hin soll. Von all den Ablenkungen, die uns davon abhalten, das Leben unserer Träume zu leben. Ja, und diese Folge ist keine Ausnahme. Es geht wieder über Flow, über Reichtum, über Gesundheit. Und mein Gast, jetzt verrate ich dir den Namen, ist Robin Sharma. Vielleicht hast du schon von ihm gehört, er hat Bücher geschrieben wie Der Mönch, der seinen Ferrari verkaufte oder auch der 5 AM Club. Und jetzt hat er ein neues Buch geschrieben, und zwar Reichtum, den du mit Geld nicht kaufen kannst. Und in diesem Buch geht es genau darum, um Reichtum, die verschiedenen Arten von Reichtum. Robin definiert 8 davon. Und darüber sprechen wir. Und eine meiner Fragen ist, wie er, weil eine dieser Arten von Reichtum ist tatsächlich Geld und Wohlstand. Und wie Robin es schafft, diesen Reichtum, also auch Geld, mit den anderen zu verknüpfen. Und da hat er eine ganz tolle Antwort dazu. Gleichzeitig sprechen wir über den Wert von Beziehungen und hier hat er auch tolle Beispiele, einfach wie alltägliche Begegnungen für ihn besonders wichtig sind und hier auch achtsam zu sein und mit Respekt anderen Menschen zu begegnen. Auch hier habe ich viel mitgenommen. Und dann geht es auch über seine täglichen Routinen, seine Methoden, die er anwendet, um sich positiv, energievoll und gesund zu halten. Also da ist wieder wahnsinnig viel drin in der Folge. Und eine Frage habe ich an Robin aus komplettem Eigeninteresse gestellt. Und zwar, welchen Tipp er mir geben würde, um der beste Coach zu werden, der ich zu sein vermag. Und dahinter verbirgt sich meine Ambition, Menschen dabei zu helfen, in ihre Kraft zu kommen. Und das tue ich innerhalb meines FlowX-Programms. Das FlowX ist ein 8-wöchiges Peak-Performance Biohacking-Training für Unternehmer, Führungskräfte und Leader mit den Top-Biohacks, mit den Techniken aus der Neurowissenschaft und aus der Flow-Psychologie, um Blockaden zu überwinden, wieder Energie zu tanken und den Fokus auf die Dinge zu richten, die du verwirklichen willst. Ich habe bereits 3 Gruppen erfolgreich betreut. Es macht mir unglaublich viel Spaß. Und die 4. Runde, die startet bereits diesen September, voraussichtlich am 10. September. Und die guten Neuigkeiten sind, die Bewerbung steht jetzt offen. Ich wähle alle Teilnehmer und Teilnehmerinnen immer per Hand aus. Das bedeutet, ich führe Interviews und finde heraus, ob die Gruppe auch so wirklich gut zusammenpasst. Und daher bewerbe dich jetzt. Melde dich an für ein Interview und dann sprechen wir über deine Ziele, über deine Träume und schauen, ob ich und das FlowX-Programm dir dabei helfen können, diese zu verwirklichen. Und wo geht's zur Anmeldung? Ganz einfach auf flowgrade.de/flowx. Ich wiederhole, flowgrade.de/flowx. Dort kannst du dich einfach per Fragebogen bewerben und dann bekommst du eine E-Mail von mir und eine Einladung zum Interview. So, jetzt aber ganz viel Spaß mit diesem Interview mit Robin Sharma über Reichtum, Erfolg, Routinen, Gesundheit. Ganz viel Spaß und go for flow.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Be water, my friend.
Dear Robin, welcome to the Flowgrade Show.
Great to be with you, Max. Thank you.
And first of all, congratulations on your new book. I'm happy to have a German copy right here with me, The Wealth Money Can't Buy. And my first question to you is, because as a writer, I know you have probably 1,000 ideas. Like, how did you come up with this idea? Why was this important for you to write?
So our society, Max, tells us that you're rich if you have a lot of money. if you have a big stock portfolio, if you have many houses, if you have cash in the bank. Yet I've created this model in The Wealth Money Can't Buy, the 8 forms of wealth. Money is only one form of wealth. There are a lot of billionaires that I've mentored over the past 15 years. They're cash rich, they're life poor. They have a lot of financial wealth, but their children won't talk to them, or they're dealing with health issues or spiritual issues or a lack of meaning in their lives. So in my work as a mentor with many of these corporate titans and professional sports superstars and entertainment royalty, I came up with this model that forms the foundation of the book. And it's the 8 forms of wealth that range from growth to service to adventure to community. And it's not until we live each of those 8 forms of wealth that I believe we can truly feel wealthy, happy, peaceful, healthy.
Robin, how has your personal definition of success changed over the years? And if yes, is there a personal experience you might want to share that has led you to the realization that wealth is different than what you just described?
Well, as I get older and more years under my belt, I realize the importance of, well, look what you do, what you're an expert at, the importance of health. The second form of wealth in the wealth money can't buy. Money can't buy you great health in some ways. And health is one of those things that we take for granted until we lose it. I was at a leadership event in Qatar, and someone handed me a piece of paper and they said, Robin, read this tonight in your hotel room before you go to sleep. And I've never forgotten what it said on the piece of paper. It said, health is the crown on the well person's head that only the ill person can see.
Mm.
And so
Wow.
health is something, as you know so well, we take for granted until we lose it. And should we lose it, and I pray none of your viewers and listeners lose it, but we spend every moment trying to get it back. So health is incredibly important. As I age, I also realize the importance of relationships. I would now fly 10 hours for a 10-minute meeting. My father's going to be 86 this week. My mother is in her
Well,
early 80s. And you realize that if you have a great family life free of drama, with rich relationship with the people that you love, if you have a great life partner, if you have children that you can connect with, you have wealth money can't buy. So that's another thing that I've learned. Another key thing is the 8th form of wealth, which is service. We all are looking for happiness, but I think chasing happiness isn't how you find happiness. Sure, we
mm.
can meditate. Sure, we can read great books. Sure, we can work out. We're going to feel joyful. But I think rich, deep happiness comes when we find some kind of a cause that's larger than ourselves. And it gives us a sense of purpose and a sense of mission. And that cause is where we're lifting other lives up. That gives us such a great, sustainable feeling of happiness and joy.
Thank you for this. And you just mentioned a couple of those forms of wealth that you describe in the book. And by the way, here, I would like to recommend to all my listeners, I got the chance to already read into it. It's super inspirational. Another one of your great works. And I can only recommend to get the book. And it's out in German as well. So everyone who is not proficient in English can get it in German as well. You mentioned already a couple of these forms. Now, I would like to ask you, in your work with clients, do you recognize that there's one form that is particularly hard for people to cultivate, one form of wealth?
Well, you're talking about with the billionaires and the athletes that I'm mentoring?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I would say, first of all, a lot of them take the people who love them the most for granted until they lose them. There's
Mm.
one chapter in the book, it's the multi-billionaire in the very empty mansion. I was asked
I
to
read that.
coach this. Yes, I was asked to coach this celebrity, very famous billionaire. You'd know who he is. I showed up in his city, showed up at his house, most magnificent house I've ever seen. I walked through his living room with one of his aides. I saw the most marvelous art collection. Continued walking through the house, incredible car collection behind a glass wall. Got to the top of a staircase. There was another aide. She said, go down the steps, down the hallway. He's behind the door waiting for you. As I walked down the steps, I heard Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls playing. I could smell cigar smoke. I continued to walk down the hallway. The door opens, and there is the famous Titan. For 2 hours, he told me how he grew his businesses, how he did his part to change the world. And after 2 hours, I said, this is all great. Your fortune is amazing. Who do you get to share it with? Long pause. I'm all alone. So I see that a lot with the people who hustle and grind their way to great financial success. Second, struggle that they have. A lot of them feel like imposters. So they have a lot of financial resources, but they're lacking meaning. There's a scientific term, you know it, Max, and it's called hedonic adaptation, which is the human ability, once we get to a goal we've always wanted or a certain place, we normalize it. So these people it's normal to be on jets. It's normal to have the houses. They've always dreamed of 10 Ferraris. They get the Ferraris and they realize, is this it? I feel the same. And it makes me think of what Jim Carrey said. He said, I wish everyone could be rich and famous to realize it doesn't make a difference. Now, money is important. It's the fifth form of wealth and the wealth money can't buy. 25 chapters in how the billionaires, exactly how they do it, how they think, how they work, their habits. But if we think that getting more money will make us feel happy and peaceful and alive, we're just kidding ourselves. We need the other 7 forms of wealth to really get there.
That's actually what I really appreciated about your book, by the way, Robin, is that you include this financial aspect. Because I think on the one hand, what you just described, there's this focus on getting more money and achieving all those things. On the other hand, there is this discussion which kind of romanticizes non-financial aspects while downplaying the importance of money, because people need money to pay their rent, to live their lives. And I really like that because you already emphasized that in the introduction of the book, that money is important. And as you just mentioned, it is one of the 8 forms of wealth. And my question for you is, how do you suggest we balance the pursuit of financial success with the cultivation of the other forms of wealth to lead a truly fulfilling life?
I think it comes down to our daily routines and our practices. I think we need some kind of ritual to remind us what's most important. What I often do, I love to journal. I've written this book, The 5 a.m. Club, so I love getting up early. And I do MVP, meditation, visualization, and prayer. And we can get into that. But in my meditation, visualization, and prayer, I pray, for example, to be of service to as many people as possible. I pray for the health of my family. In my visualization, I see myself on travels with my family or doing interesting things. So there's a routine at the front end of the day that locks me into what's most important. After I do MVP, I work out, and then I always journal with a good cup of coffee. And when I journal, I ask myself 5 journal prompts that I'll offer to all your viewers and listeners from around the world. Number 1, I ask myself, what am I grateful for? We know that gratitude is the antidote to fear. And it makes me think of the Persian proverb, I cursed the fact I had no shoes until I saw the man who had no feet. Second question I ask myself is, where am I winning? The human brain has a feature, the negativity bias. So thousands of years ago, we're always in hypervigilance, scanning the environment for threats, warring tribes, predators. Now, here we are in the modern age. We're still scanning our environment for threats versus celebrating our micro wins, which would give us more energy and optimism and joy and hope. So answer, where am I winning? Third question to ask yourself. Number 3, big one. What will I let go of? So one of the chapters in the book is don't be a resentment collector. So answering the question, what will I let go of? It might be, I'm going to let go of this person who broke my heart or this client who's difficult. But that's very powerful. Fourth question, what does my ideal day ahead look like? Because clarity precedes mastery. So by writing that out, we will not live the same day 1,000 or 80,000 times and call it a life. And then the fifth question I ask myself, so we don't use money as a drug, as an addiction, I ask myself, what needs to be said at the end? And I write a paragraph. Oh, at the end of my life, I want my partner Al or my children or my clients or my readers, I want them to say this. I want to feel this. And that allows me to live to the point and keep a balance of the things that are most important. A lot of us in this world are so busy being busy, we don't think about what's most important. And then we get to our last hour of our last day and say, I climbed the wrong mountain.
Powerful. Thank you. Robin, you just mentioned journaling. What are your current like non-negotiable routines and rituals that you employ every day in order to feel rich in these different areas?
Non-negotiables would be I don't allow energy vampires and dream stealers into my days. I think you can change the world or be around toxic people. You can't do both. Morning routine, absolutely essential. These days, I believe in the 5 a.m. club. These days I get up at 4 and I just love it. It gives me another hour of meditation, visualization, and prayer. Some people might say, why would you get up at 4? It's strange. Any new idea seems strange until it becomes normal. But I do it because it's fun. I love it. I do it because if I don't do it, my days are less energetic, less inspired, less interesting, creative, and productive. So morning routine is so important for me. Pre-sleep ritual. You can't get up early if you don't get enough sleep, of course. So the 2 or 3 hours before I go to sleep are non-negotiable. Again, I don't do this rigidly, but very often I will make sure I read. I will not check my phone 3 hours before sleep. I will listen to some great music. I will definitely not be on social media. I think that is so toxic. Social media, negative news, et cetera, before you go to sleep. According to latest research, you might find this interesting, Max. The average human being is spending 4.7 hours a day on social media. That amounts to 3 months every year playing with our phones. Imagine the life we could create. Talk about the wealth money can't buy. Imagine what we could do with 3 extra months every single year in terms of family, fun, reading, growth, building things that make us happy.
Robin, what do you say to young entrepreneurs that have that feeling they need to be relevant on social media in this digital world? And if they're not, they might not be successful in their field, they might not be seen. Is there nowadays a possibility around that?
I hear that a lot. And what I would say is a lot of that constant posting, and this is just my opinion, but a lot of that constant posting is coming from fear. Let me ask you, is J.D. Salinger, who wrote The Catcher in the Rye, still relevant? Is Picasso still relevant? Is Mandela still relevant? Is Mother Teresa still relevant? I think it's wiser to push one masterwork out into the marketplace than 1,000 mediocrities. And what I'm suggesting here is let's talk. You're asking about social media rather than doing 3 videos a day and 5 Instagram posts and our TikToks. Why not post once a week? But what you post is absolute magic. Be a minimalist and it's one of the key through lines in The Wealth Money Can't Buy. Be a minimalist versus a maximalist. A lot of authors, they're writing a book every year. That's fine. No problem. I'm not judging. I'm just reporting. I'd rather do one Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, one Catcher in the Rye, one Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, one Taj Mahal is really all you need.
Mm-hmm. Powerful stuff. I would like to ask you around community now, because I think that is the illusion with social media that you can communicate with your community. And in the back of the book, I found out that you have this request to your readers: send me a photo, even of cooking a meal, of success in your life, and like be part of that community. I really like that, by the way, that impulse. But my question for you would be, how do you nurture your own network, your community? And maybe going back to that example you just presented with your billionaire friend who's lonely, who doesn't share his success with anyone, what would be a first step for him to maybe enter a community or build one of his or her own?
Well, I would say the primary principle is to remember to leave everyone you meet better than you found them. I think we are in a world longing for humanity. Stop and talk to someone. Stop and talk to your children. Put down the phone and speak to your significant other. Pack up the bags and take a camping trip. I was recently on a walk with a friend, and he said, I could stay in the best hotels in the world. He goes, this summer, we're getting in the car, and with my family, we're going on a long camping trip. And he said, the kids love it. In business, we often forget that, and to channel Herb Kelleher, who founded Southwest Airlines, he said, the business of business is people. And I found, you take care of the relationship and the money. For entrepreneurs, money's important. Take care of the relationship and the money will take care of itself. And so for me, when it comes to answer your question head on, I mean, my readers are my mission. I'm not perfect, but still every day I go into my direct messages on, let's say, Instagram, and I use the audio component, the audio feature. And for someone who can't do something for me, I think real giving is to help people who can't do anything for you. Otherwise, it's not a gift, it's a trade. And I'll do audios and I'll say, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you for reading my book. I hope you continue to be a great entrepreneur and your startup is a success. When I'm not some kind of a guru, but what works for me is when I travel, most hotels have stationery. I'll write notes. I'll write a letter to Elle. I'll write a letter to my children. I'll write a letter to my mother or my father where I express my heartfelt words. Often we don't speak our truth to the people we love until it's too late. And then we feel great heartbreak that we didn't tell our mother or father, for example, how much we love them. So relationships in business are mission essential. People forget that, I'm here in Berlin. This morning I went for a cup of coffee. I went to a Starbucks. The man at Starbucks, his name was Tommy. Tommy made me laugh. Tommy made the connection. Tommy was real. So tomorrow, guess where I'm going? To get my coffee from Tommy. And the second, the third form of wealth and the wealth money can't buy is family. Family's all about relationships. And I can tell you that is the wealth money can't buy. To have a 3-hour-long meal with the people that you love, that's worth more than all the gold on planet Earth.
Wow. Robin, you share so many inspirational themes and I've learned so much from you, but I know as an author that when you write, you develop your own thinking, and I'm sure you grow as well. And I would like to ask you, is there something that maybe before starting the book you held to be true and that sort of changed? And maybe if you can't think of that, maybe go back to the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Is there anything you held to be true that you've changed your opinion on with this book?
A few things. First of all, I would say, I've just written this down, simplicity beats complexity every day of the week. So in my previous book, the Everyday Hero Manifesto, it was a very sophisticated book, all these models and nuances, and even the languaging in that book, it was the new book is very simple. It's very accessible. It took me 1 year of my life to make it simple. If you look at a great artist, it's about what you don't put in. It's about what you have the wisdom not to put in that makes a masterwork. I'm a huge fan of the German artist, George Baselitz. It took him, 50, 60, 70 years to figure out what not to put in. What makes a great business is what you say no to. What makes a great life is the things you refuse to do so you can focus on your priorities, being a minimalist versus a maximalist. So one of the things I learned is the importance of working extremely hard on any creative project to make it simple. Second thing I've learned is the importance of storytelling. I mean, there's so many stories in The Wealth Money Can't Buy. And I've just realized we live in a world of people who are really overwhelmed, and they might not want to read more information, but every one of us craves a story of wisdom, of inspiration, of hope, that even gives us a great lesson. Third thing I've learned is, this might sound a little strange, but if you work with love, people feel your love in the product. If you work to get money, people feel that. But if you work from a place of service and love, people will sense it in your app. They will sense it in your food in your restaurant. They will sense it in your video.
Very inspirational. I can only confirm that. I think the book is super accessible, and I love to just pick it up and you can open a page and read it, and for itself, it's already valuable. This particular site, you have 175 different pieces of advice, and I actually recognize many of the things that I recommend as well, such as, for example, forest bathing, which is something that I've recommended for years. I've done myself. I know how powerful it is, and I love to find it in your book as well. And in addition to many other great things. As someone who's also coaching people, Robin, I would like to ask you two more questions. I have a group of high performers, including high-performing investment bankers, high-level executives. And of course, they come to me also because they want to optimize their health. And you are someone, though, in general, because you cannot separate the optimization of health from personal development. And as someone that I look up to, what would you recommend to me to become the best leadership, biohacking, health optimization coach that I can be? Is there something that I can cultivate in order to really become the best that I can offer?
So many things are coming to mind. Let me just write a few of these things down. I would say, first of all, this might also sound strange, but the more you can heal your wounds. See, everyone talks about mindset, and mindset's important, of course, but in my methodology, I have something called the 4 interior empires. There's mindset, which is your psychology. There's heart set, which is your emotionality. There's health set, which is your physicality, and there's soul set, which is your spirituality. The more you can work on all 4 of those incrementally every day, because small daily improvements lead to stunning results, the more you will grow into your bigness, the more you will turn down the voice of your ego, the more you will become the kind of person who walks into the room and doesn't need to say a word, but by your presence, you heal and uplift people. The more you develop your mindset, heart set, health set, soul set, the less you'll be in scarcity, the more you'll be in generosity. And so how do you build the relationship and serve those clients you mentioned, the investment bankers? You forget about what's in it for you, and you become monomaniacally focused on helping them live their greatest lives. And when you do that, the byproduct is huge success for you. Secondly, I would say, become a master of your craft. It's a GCA, a gargantuan competitive advantage. Very few people are prepared. Very few people study. I call it the 60-minute student habit. Very few people listen to every audiobook, read hundreds, thousands of books in your field. You want to be so good at what you do that when I watch you in action, I can't take my eyes off of you. When you do that, the world will be a path to your door. Final thing I'd say, because I know we're on a time schedule. MVP. Right. So tell me.
No, thank you so much, Robin. I just have one more question for you. Last one before I end with, again, showing the book. Is there one thing that you believe in, but you cannot prove?
Yes. Wow, what a brilliant question. Karma. I believe that good things happen to people who do good things. Might not be on your time or my time, but good things happen to people who do good things. If you work, I think to lead is to serve. And that's the 8th form of wealth in The Wealth Money Can't Buy. It's a form of wealth. It's so contrary to our society. To be helpful, to be useful, to be kind, to be generous makes you rich. That's not a common belief in our world right now. But I believe in karma. I believe if you are out there and you work hard and you give and you keep your promises and you uplift other people, great things will happen to you. It doesn't mean you're not going to experience difficulties from time to time, but your life will turn out exponentially better when you are an instrument of service to as many people as possible.
Sir, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Robin, for making the time. This has been a highlight half hour of this year for sure. For me, I would like to really recommend to everyone listening right now, if you want more from Robin Sharma, get his new book, get also the other books, which I love. And I mentioned to you, Robin, I mentioned them actually in my book, The Daily Biohacker. I quoted you, and this has been really an honor. I'll make sure the book gets out in our community. I'll promote it in our orbit. And again, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you for being so sincere and so incredibly gracious, Max. I've really enjoyed our time together.
Go for Flow. So, das war's mit dieser Folge der Flowgrade Show mit Robin Sharma. Vielen Dank, dass du wieder eingeschaltet hast. Ich hoffe, du hast wieder was gelernt. Und wenn dir die Flowgrade Show gefällt, dann freue ich mich natürlich über eine 5-Sterne-Bewertung auf Apple Podcasts, auf Spotify, ein Abonnement auf YouTube, einen Besuch unserer Webseite auf flowgrade.de. Aber am allermeisten würde ich mich freuen, wenn du Teil unserer tollen Community wirst. Und zwar dem Flow Tribe. Da wird in Zukunft noch viel mehr passieren. Es ist eine interne Online-Community und du kannst dich aktuell noch kostenfrei dazu anmelden. Und zwar auf flowtribe.community. Ich wiederhole, flowtribe.community. Melde dich an, erstelle dein Konto und spreche mit. Und hier noch der Hinweis, denn in dieser Folge ging es um Leadership, um Reichtum, um Erfolg. Und meine Lösung dazu ist mein Flow-X-Programm. Es ist ein 8-wöchiges Peak-Performance-Biohacking-Training für Unternehmer, für Leader und High-Performer, die Lust darauf haben, Blockaden zu überwinden, wieder in die eigene Kraft zu kommen und das Leben ihrer Träume zu gestalten. Und das mit den Methoden aus dem Biohacking, aus der Neurowissenschaft und aus der Flow-Psychologie. Also ich teile das Beste vom Besten, was ich kennengelernt habe von Menschen wie Robin Sharma und lade dich herzlich ein, dich zu bewerben. Denn die 4. Runde startet schon diesen September 2024 und die Bewerbung steht jetzt offen. Und diese findest du einfach per Fragebogen auf flowgrade.de/flowx. Ich wiederhole, flowgrade.de/flowx. Dort findest du weitere Informationen zum Programm und kannst dich per Klick einfach in den Fragebogen begeben, diesen ausfüllen und dich für ein Interview mit mir anmelden. So, das war's für diese Folge. Vielen Dank. Ich bin Max Gotzler. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Go for Flow.